Hello crafters and welcome back to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. My name is Deepa Robbins from Designs by D, and today I'm showing you these two beautiful cards made using the Altenew Build a Garden set. Now this set is called Serene Blooms, and you can see that the cards you can make with this are absolutely gorgeous. And I know that Altenew products are really gorgeous. I think Scrapbook Pal is starting to carry a lot more things, including the blending brushes too, which I'm so excited about. So this is the bundle we're working with, and you can see that it comes in this package here. So you get like one of the small mini blending brushes, and I love these. I think they're amazing. They add color so easily and effortlessly. So I really do recommend trying these out. I'm sure you'll love them. Here's the actual die cutting set. You can see that you not only get to cut out the two large florals, you get a little vase, a branch, and then you can cut out the sentiments too. You've got the coordinating stencil set, which I think has 4 stencils, and then the outline stamp set, which has the 2 florals and the sentiments. Now, I'm also going to be using the Botanical Rails embossing folder with this one, so I've shown that here. It is absolutely gorgeous, I have to say. So I'm going to go ahead and put down my 2 floral stamps to begin with. I am going to stamp that one on the top left twice, so I've created a bit of space there. I'm using my Altenew stamp wheel, and I'm going to grab some Gathered Twigs ink from Pinkfresh Studio. It's a nice deep brown, so it gives a nice outline, but it's not as sharp as the black. Not sharp as in clean, but in terms of the color. It's just a little softer is what I mean. So I'll go ahead and I stamped that out twice. Didn't include that in the video, but it is stamped out twice, so I get a nice crisp line. And now I'm going to start adding the color. So I have the first stencil here, and you can see it's kind of split up into quadrants. There's little wavy lines on there that kind of split up the different areas, and they do this to save money, right? And you're also going to save money on the price of this item too. So that's what I like about this set. I'm going in here and I'm just adding some soft lilac just in the background, and you can see I'm not going too heavy with the ink. I am in general, in terms of the whole image, taking the ink a little deeper in the center and then lightening it up as I reach the end. So that just requires a little bit more of a heavier hand in the center and then a lighter hand as you get to the edge. And then I'm adding Regal Kiss to kind of just darken up the edges there. So that was just the first portion of the stencil. Now, as I move downwards on the stencil, we can fill in some other leaves. So these stencils are made in such a way that you could actually make the leaves different colors. So I could use soft lilac on one set of petals and Regal Kiss on the other, but I am going with a continuous look for the entire flower. So I'll just use the same technique for the rest of the petals. As I mentioned, the soft lilac being deeper at the bottom of the flower and lightening up as you get to the edge, and then using the Regal Kiss to really darken the bottom of the flower there and create a nice contrasting gradient in the colors. So now once I take the stencil off, you can see what a gorgeous tone you get there. You'll notice the tips of the petals are pretty much white. I am trying to keep them very nice and soft and wispy looking. Now for the other floral, we have the second stencil, which it basically breaks it down again. You have different portions that the stencil is broken down into. So just follow the stencil or the guide. They are labeled with an alphanumeric labeling. So this one is stencil 2. So it's got B1, B2. It tells you which order to use the stencil in. And I'm using the same colors, the soft lilac and making it darker in the center, and then using the Regal Kiss to darken the centers a little more. And then I kind of just blend the color out. And I'll do that for both of those two images. Now, I do want to mention I am using the larger ink pads for the Pinkfresh Studio, and ScrapbookPal does carry these inks, but they're in the smaller cubes. I do recommend, if you're new to the ink line, to try the smaller cubes. However, I know that they are discontinuing the inks that they currently have. So, in general, I wouldn't recommend getting them if you don't have them already. But if you do have them already, the inks that I've used are linked in the description below. And you can see how gorgeous that looks there. Now I'm just going to add ink to the second one off screen. I did it in the exact same way, so there's nothing new there. You didn't miss anything. And now I'm going to move on with the third stencil, and this one does the leaves for the larger floral, or at least the two leaf floral, or the two flower floral. Now I'm grabbing different inks here. I've got greens, I've got evergreen and eucalyptus. I do use evergreen to kind of darken up the bottoms of those leaves, just like we did with the flowers. But I only use like a minimal amount, and then the rest of it is all pretty much the eucalyptus, which is a really nice color and goes well with the pinky purple we've used. So yeah, same idea. Eucalyptus, darken at the bottom of the leaf, lightened up at the edge, the top edge, and then I add a bit of the evergreen at the bottom just to darken it up. Now the second part of the stencil does the underside of the leaf and the stems, so you might want to do those a little darker, so go with the darker or the heavy-handed eucalyptus or the evergreen. So now we'll flip around our pad here, and you'll notice that I'm using the sticky mat from the Altenew platform. This thing is amazing. So I actually have two sticky mats. One I keep in my platform, and that one kind of stays nice and clean and white. And this one I use for all of my inking. So I'll transfer the cardstock that I've stamped on to this, and it really comes in handy for sticking down your stencils. You can see on the edges I can stick them down and moving things around. So again, I added the ink in the same manner as before, and I'm also adding a bit of bay leaf in the center for the flower centers, and you'll see how pretty that looks in the end. We'll go ahead and ink up the second floral in the exact same way, and then we can work on cutting these out. So this is the first time I've used an Altenew set in a while. It's been a while for me. They have a nice acetate sheet in there where the dies are attached to, and I think that's just amazing. I know Spellbinders has that too. This one also has the dies like an outline printed, so you know exactly where to put it back, so everything fits nicely back into your package. I really love that feature. So I've gone ahead and I've lined up my dies for the florals. I've got the little pot that comes in the Altenew die set, and then also a frame, the dotted fancy frames from Pinkfresh Studio. I've grabbed one of those to use on one of the other cards. So I've cut everything out, and you can see how nicely that pot works with both of these florals. It works absolutely nicely. You could double them up, add one, add the other, do what you want with it. Versatility is amazing. So as I mentioned here, they have the little outlines. I had to show this because I always take my dies off and I'm like, oh crap, now where do they go? How do I fit everything in? So this is amazing. It's just something so simple, but I love that they put the outline there. Now I can put it back and it looks perfect. So moving on, I will go ahead and stamp out my sentiments. I've grabbed two, I think the Love You, and then there's another larger one there from the same stamp set that comes with the Build-A-Garden set here. I'm stamping it out using the same ink we used for the outline, the Gathered Twigs. I've double stamped it to make sure I get a nice crisp image, which is easily done with the Altenew stamp wheel. And then I'll line up the dies for these. So there's 3 sentiment dies in this package here. You get the Love You, the larger sentiment, and then there's another handwritten sentiment that it cuts out as well. Now moving on, I've gone ahead and cut those out and set them aside. I'll bring those back in the end here when we assemble everything. Now I've got the embossing folder, Botanical rails, and oh my god, look at that. So I did kind of spray one side of the cardstock before I put that through my die cutting machine so that the paper didn't, crimple or rip or tear or anything like that. It just helps that embossed image come out so gorgeously without ruining your cardstock, and it looks so pretty. Like you could just put a sentiment on this and you'd be done. Or you could add a bit of ink to highlight the embossed image. It's totally up to you. Keep in mind you could use the embossed or the debossed sized. It doesn't matter. So I'm cutting down I did 2 panels here. These are 2 A2 size panels. I'm cutting one down so I can just have like maybe 2/3 of it. And then the other one, I've just cut off a little bit of the edge. So I've got a 1/8 of an inch border. And then I'm rounding off the edges with this corner notch from Spellbinders. I have linked it down below, but I think it is sold out. You could use any corner notch cutter for this. If you wanted, you could even cut it by hand. So I just thought that the rounded corners would look nice with the pointy corners of the card. This is an A2 size top folding card base. And I've gone ahead and attached that embossed background. I've got some white foam to kind of prop up that frame that we cut, the dotted fancy frames. This is going to hold my sentiment. And you'll notice I did cut those out of an off-white cardstock, so it's a creamy cardstock, so it kind of stands out a little bit compared to the white in the background and on the flowers. I'm going to kind of just cut down. You'll notice the top floral, I cut off a little bit of the leaves there. I've got it sitting to the right of the screen, and that's just so I can kind of attach the second portion and have it look like one continuously long branch, just kind of sloping on the right side there. It kind of nicely frames that dotted frames piece that we cut out. I'm going to add the sentiment using these foam strips, which are amazing. I live by them. I always have them on hand. They're linked again in the description. All of the products I'm using are linked within the description below, so you can go ahead and take a look and grab those if they're available. The foam adhesive, though, that's always in stock, and I really do recommend stocking up on that because it's amazing. We've got Black Friday coming soon, so we're going to have there'll probably be some sales for that, so I definitely do recommend grabbing those crafty items that you love, and craft foam is definitely going to be one of the things, the foam adhesive, that I grab. So you'll notice that extra leafy bit I did kind of add behind the other sentiment. It just kind of creates a cohesive flow on your card. It really just adds a little something extra. I love that. Now I have cut a piece of like pink metallic cardstock here. It matches for the most part the ink that I used on the florals, and you could grab anything that you have, glitter cardstock. I just think it creates like a nice edge on that cut piece of embossed gray cardstock there. Like by itself, it just didn't look good to me. So I find adding just a little bit of something extra like this on the edge just gives it a nice finishing touch, a little more of a professional look, would you say? So now I've got a side folding A2 sized card base here, and I'm attaching that panel with that little strip of the pink there on top, leaving that white edge to the left. I'm adding my floral pot here along with the flowers, figuring out where to put that sentiment. I did want the sentiment to be stamped on that pot, but it didn't fit. So I went ahead and just stamped it out separately on the same colored cardstock, and we'll attach that. So I'm adding some more foam adhesives to the flower and stem portion, and then another couple pieces to the vase so that they sit up at the same height. Now, I did this purposely. I want the cream to be on the gray so that there's contrast, right? I didn't want to have it the other way, which is why I put the vase more like totally in the center of that gray panel. And then it works because this floral piece kind of, it pushes off to the right. Like you have one floral hanging off to the left. So it just, again, it goes with the flow. So that's why I put the gray on the right side versus the left side. It's kind of like how you have to start, like figure out where things go. So I'm using some Pinkfresh Studio gems here. These are dots. Again, I've got them linked in the description below. On this card, I'm just going to use the clear drops here, and I'm just going to add a few. Remember, I always tend to stick with the odd number. I think I say this in every video, just odd numbers always look better. So go ahead and add those in an odd number. You could add 13, you could add 11, you could add 7. It's completely up to you, whatever you think works with your design. So I'm going to add some not only on the gray, the white, but also one on the flower there too. I think that just draws your eye to everything. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the second card here. I like to use adhesive to create layers, and then the elements, the colors, the way things move on the card draw your eye to the different areas, and the same thing goes for the gems. Now these gems are the iridescent drops. They're clear at the back. They look really pretty. They look like raindrops. I love them. So these are my 2 cards for today. I really hope that you like these 2 designs and you're inspired to create something similar yourself. Maybe you want to go with some Christmas colors for some Christmas cards. But I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for future videos, and we'd love to see you guys again next time. Don't forget to check out all of the products linked in the description below, and I'll see you then. Bye.